Shalom Aleichem, sweetest friends. This year should be a special schus for Moshe ben Peshadina, L'bracha v'atzlacha v'chol maaseh yadav. And we are continuing our study of the Gemara Masechah Shabbos of Samach Beis, about the sins of the Benos Tzion that led to their destruction of the Beis Hamikdash. It says, V'sachas psigayil machgoires sak, that instead of psigayil, they're going to enclose themselves in sackcloth. They're going to gird themselves with sackcloth. So what does psigayil mean? So the Gemara says something which one might find shocking. Psachim hamevim lidei gila yiu lemachgoires sak. Those psachim, those openings, psigayil is a nutricon. It's an acronym for psachim hamevim lidei gila. That's psigayil. Psachim hamevim lidei gila, those openings that bring to joy, are going to be lemachgoires sak. So, what is that referring to? What are the openings that bring to joy? So Rashi says, Osom Makom. So you see that the Osom Makom is supposed to bring one to joy. It's a good thing. It's not evil, it's not a sin. It's supposed to make one joyous. When it's done in the context of marriage, in a holy way. But here, because of the sins of the Benos Tzion, because of their lack of tznius, these psachim end up being now girded with sackcloth. Explains the Rav, Hayachas hamini hahagun, habanui biktusha uviyosher, the sexual relationship, or the relationship in between the sexes, that is proper, that is built with holiness and with honesty, levad mashu boneh umishachlel et ha'atid shel ha'olam, besides the fact that it builds and perfects the future of the world, hu me'asher b'zeh atzmo et ha'hoveh. It also gives meaning, significance to the present. So when there's a relationship between the sexes, a sexual relationship, so this is what perpetuates the species. It's a good thing. Evolutionary psychologists, they get paid a lot of money to make up theories based on premises that they can't fully prove, with conclusions that they can't fully prove, or even partially prove. So they start with the assumption that we were somehow able to evolve ourselves. So they said that man wanted to perpetuate the species, so he somehow evolved his attraction to the other sex, and the woman also wanted to, so somehow the man made sperm within himself, and the woman a fetus, a womb, and then somehow they're both able to evolve these two things that work together so well, and they have had to evolve their attraction because they know that's the only way they're going to continue the species, and that's why men are attracted to women and women are attracted to men. So a better mahalach would have been, instead of having children, which means that now you have a lot of problems and you have to compete with someone else for food and all the difficulties of childbirth and raising children, why don't they just evolve that they would live forever and not die? Wouldn't that be better? In any event, I have another explanation, which I think is more emes. That God made it that men and women would be attracted to each other because God wanted that we should perpetuate the species, among other things. So this sexual attraction between male and female is great. It makes the future possible, because without that interaction there'd be no children. There'd be no children in about 110 years. The entire world would die out. Ice world. There'd be one old 111-year-old woman. She would say, yeah, I remember when there were people. But other than that, we'd be finished. So Hashem made it that we should have children, There's Nachador, and as we're speaking right now, Baruch Hashem, in Shari Tzedek Hospital, and Hadassah Hospital, and Mount Sinai Hospital, and in Long Island Jewish, Beth Israel, wherever you go, there are women giving birth. There are more children and more children and more children. And that's good for the future. It's also good for the present. Why is it good for the present? ההשתלמות שהמינים מקבלים זה מזה בתכונותיהם הנפשיות אינה פחות מלאת ערך מהתוכנית של התולדה החומרית. הרב אומר פה משהו מדהים. That the perfection that the sexes get from each other in their different personality traits is not any less valuable than the plan of physical descendants. In other words, the male-female relationship is not just about creating new children. It's about creating new spouses. So a woman doesn't only give birth to her children, she also gives birth to a husband. He just doesn't come out of her womb. That'd be rough. You have your 5'4" wife. She has to give birth to her 6'2" husband. Be a little much. I don't know how we fit him in there. But we're talking not about a physical birth, but we're talking about the qualities, the female qualities that she has that enhance him, that better him, that improve him. And he has qualities, his male qualities, that enhance her. And they complement each other, complement with an I and complement with an E. That they perfect each other. And that's why it's so important for a person to have a beneficial, growth-oriented relationship with a member of the opposite gender. Because despite all of the rhetoric that one might hear at times, men and women are different. And it's not only because of the biological differences, as I am now touching my beard. You don't see too many of those on women. And it's not only the deep voice, which is I'm speaking. Women don't have deep voices like men. Not only that men are taller and bigger and faster and stronger. It's not only that women can give birth and can multitask and have higher levels of empathy and usually speech ability, etc., etc. All the different differences between men and women, many, many, that have been documented. So the everything together, it's not only the pure physical differences, but everything together, everything that makes a man and a woman, is able to enhance their partner. And therefore, one must connect to a woman in all that she is, all of her qualities, the female qualities, and the male with all of his male qualities. And yet, men have a female side and women have a male side. And everybody is a mixture of lots of different things. The male is the dominant in the male, and the female qualities are dominant in the female. And you have less dominant qualities. You have male with female qualities, females with male qualities. Then you have their personal qualities that are unique to them. You have their upbringing and their experiences. And everybody's a world unto themselves. So this is something that when one has a relationship, a marital relationship, it really enhances one's partner. It's not just about having kids. The sexual differences are critical for self-growth. יידון נפשי הגון המביא אחרית טובה, הוא עומד אכן לישרי לב המנהיגים את חייהם ביושר וכושר, בסיוע התורה ואמונת הלב. So there's this purifying of the soul that brings to a good ending. So it's prepared for those of a straight heart that lead their lives straightly, correctly, honestly, in a kosher way. with all of the limitations of the Torah, and with the faith of the heart. So a person's going to be purified and have a good ending when he has a straight heart, he leads his life in an honest way, he lives according to Torah and Emunah. אבל אנשים משחיתי דרכם מאבדים את ההון היקר שברכת השם בקרבו לאבדון, ואותה התכונה שהוד החיים ועוזו מתגלה בה בטובה ותמותה, כשיורדת היא לעמקי הרע, ישוב הכל אחורנית. האדם יאבד את ערכו, לא לבד את ערכו האנושי, כי אם גם את ערך החיים שלו. הלב יתרוקן מכל ששון, כל תקווה, הכוחות ידלדלו ויהפכו לפלצות וזוועה. So this is all when man is living as he should. But let's say man corrupts himself. So as good as it was before, as good as the sexual differences between men and women were before, and everything that entails, it's that bad now. The bigger they are, the harder they fall. Since it's such a valuable attribute, when one corrupts it, then it does the same amount of damage, commensurate to the amount of benefit one had from it in a good way. So the sexual activity between a man and a woman is psachim hamevim lidei gila. So it's not just the act itself, what they call in the Gemara the Maaseh Bia itself, all rabbinic literature. And that brings to gila, that brings to joy, but it's just the entire male-female relationship. It's just so exciting, when men and women, no matter how much they love each other, they're really only in bed together a very, very small percentage of the time. Most of the time, it's just their interaction, how they talk to each other, how they relate, what they learn from the other person. So this is maybe lidei gila. This makes one very happy. And what happens when it's corrupted? When it's corrupted, it brings to terrible destruction. And all of the person's emptied of joy, hope, and his energies become weakened. They turn monstrous. לבישס השק של היצרה מכוונתי עם ההשפלה הזאת של הכרת ערך ההשפלה היורדת עד לגבול הדומם החומרי. כלומר, לא עניין חי התופס ערך לעצמו, הראוי להיות קובע לו מדורו לפי ערכו ולפי תביעותיו הטבעיות, שאינן גם כן זכויותיו היותר צודקות, כי אם כמו חומר ודבר של קניין שאין בו חיים וחפץ, הראוי רק ליתן ולתן בשק. כה תגדל הנפילה ממרום עיזוז חריפות החיים המלאים בטובם עד למחגורת שק. In other words, now, instead of it being a source of great joy, that those psachim hamevim lidei gila, now they're just sacks. When you put something in a sack, it loses meaning. You don't just stick something in a sack if you think it's important. So this is like a chomer v'davar shel kinyan. In other words, you need to pack your things up somehow. So that's just royally nothing besak. You're going on an overnight business trip, so you throw in your bag, you throw a few, an undershirt, whatever, this or that, your toothbrush, your toothpaste. Throw this in, you throw that in yesterday's newspaper. Just put it in your bag for your trip. It's like nothing besak, without any great significance. And that's what's happening. These psachim hamevim lidei gila, now they're going to be girded with the sackcloth to show that it's just not, it lost its meaning. And that's what happens to these Benos Tzion, who took the standards of tznius and lowered them so terribly. So now this physical and emotional and spiritual relationship between male and female has been totally corrupted and ruined. And now it's royal sak. So this is a tremendous musar for us to really keep our relationships on an elevated plateau, on a higher plane, where it remains b'vchinas psachim shel gila, a place of joy, that the relationship is a growth-inducing one, and a relationship is one that brings one to higher spiritual levels. It's a connection between the couple and between them and HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and between them and the world. It should enhance all relationships, a good marital bond. And the other option is that it becomes a machagoyra sack. It just becomes just garbage and dirty. And that's the way people feel when they abuse their sexual capacity, they feel like garbage if you ask them. Very high instances. I once heard an interview with a psychiatrist. I think she's actually a frum woman in a university campus. It was UCLA many years ago. And she spoke about the students, the many students, particularly the female ones, who come to her with feelings of depression after they met a guy and he convinced them that he had strong feelings for them, and they wanted to please and they wanted the relationship to go further, so they gave themselves over to this person, and then the next day he sees them in the chemistry lab or in psych class, and he just ignores them. He ignores her. And she thinks, like, well, what am I? Last night, and now just completely. And she feels like garbage, and she loses her self-worth. And that happens time and again. Millions and millions and tens of millions of times a year. That people are made to feel meaningless and useless and worthless when they're just used and abused, thrown away, discarded. And that's the Benos Tzion in those times who Tachas Psigayo Machgores Sak, they abused their beauty and the attraction men have to them, and they just used it in order to create unholy relationships, unholy alliances, and that brought a terrible destruction. So Baruch Elokeinu shebranu l'chvoidoi v'vdilanu min hatoyim and asalenu teres emes, that we're zocheh to understand what's important in life, and not chas v'shalom to corrupt something that should be so holy and pure and elevated, and turn it into something so debasing and low and impure and unholy and contaminated. So we should be mischazik in our levels of kedusha and tara, and be zocheh b'karav mamish, l'rois the yavur atumim and haaretz, the tumah will be removed from the earth, and will be filled with this great smell of kedusha and tara, and bevo Mashiach tzidkenu, v'meher v'yameinu, amen v'yamein. Shalom, shalom, sweetest and most beloved friend.